Recently in the anime and quite a while ago in the manga, we were first introduced to the new fighting style of Izuku Midoriya, full cowl shoot style, where he would move from using his arms primarily to using his legs. It's a fighting style that focuses a lot more on kicking as opposed to using punches. And this was the point in the series where I personally at least found a very significant liking towards Izuku Midoriya's character, especially when it comes to his fighting. Because this is when Izuku Midoriya really branches out and becomes his own fighter instead of trying to imitate what someone had already done before. Because in the past, before this point, Izuku Midoriya, he tried to imitate All Might as much as he could because he was using the same quirk as him. He was really trying to find a way to be the symbol of peace that All Might was. He tried to be All Might too much instead of trying to find a way to be his own hero, his own fighter. Because every time you see him use a move, a smash move in particular, it will always be something that All Might had already been using. You know, you have the Detroit Smash, the Delaware Smash, Texas Smash, all of these kind of things, which were all invented by All Might. Izuku Midoriya didn't really have anything that was unique to him, as opposed to being something that someone else created. So when shoot style was introduced recently in the anime, as I said, or quite a while back in the manga, that's when it clicked for me, simply because of the fact that this was when he realized he can no longer be imitating All Might. But there's a lot more than that as well, because the reason behind the whole shoot style is because he had to find a way to fight without having to use his arms, because if he actually injures his arms even once more, that could be the end of his arms as a whole. And what I mean by that is that the doctors said that, you know, if he were to damage a certain part in his arms once more, that may cause his arms to be unable to move, which means he's no longer gonna be able to use them anymore. And this is something that Izuku Midoriya doesn't want to happen, naturally. I don't think anyone would want their arms to be rendered useless if they can avoid it. And Izuku Midoriya, he can avoid it. He did avoid it, in fact, because he found a way to use a different style of fighting that wasn't just better for his own physical condition, but it was also something that was better for him as a hero, because people are gonna remember Izuku Midoriya as himself rather than someone who were an All Might 2.0. Now, one thing to remember, of course, with shoot style is that it's not limited to legs. It's just that he's focusing mostly on his legs. He can still use his arms with moderation. Like, he's not allowed to break his arms, but as long as he doesn't break his arms, you know, as long as he keeps the leg work at a maximum and just arms whenever there's an extra touch needed, that is something Deku can still do. And I like that because it kind of gives us the idea that, you know, there's gonna come times when Deku is still going to be using punches, depending on the situation. It's just that you're gonna be seeing a lot more kicks than you are gonna be seeing punches. But that doesn't mean the punches are gonna be out of the picture entirely. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is a manga spoiler, by the way. So if you haven't read a manga, if you're only watching the anime, this is definitely going to be a spoiler for like season 4, season 5 kind of thing. Not exactly sure when it's going to be happening. I imagine season 5. So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled, I do suggest you click off this video or something, because it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be real bad if you don't. Quite recently in the manga, Deku learned to use what is referred to as Wind Force. Now, this is obviously something that we knew quite early on was gonna become a thing for Deku, because he actually ended up using Delaware Smash a lot. So Deku obviously ended up using Wind Force as an extension to his shoot style, so that he could use both mid to long ranged attacks as well as close-up attacks, Wind Force being a lot more long ranged than his actual shoot style technique, of course, giving Deku some variety when it comes to his fighting. Like, he's no longer limited to being right in their face. He can actually still be in the game when there's distance between him and his target without fucking up his entire body as he did in the past, which I find to be quite amazing when it comes to Deku's fighting, because in the past, whenever he had to do something like that, like whenever he used the Delaware Smash, he obviously broke his fingers. This is no longer gonna be the case for Deku, unless he has to overuse it, which could happen depending on how much power he is going to have to be using, but I don't see him doing that anytime soon. Anyway, I'm gonna end the video here. I just wanted to talk about the shoot style technique that Deku has recently learned in the anime and obviously a while back in the manga, but I haven't really made a video on Deku's fighting style, so I just thought, you know, I'd make a video, I didn't really know what approach to take, so I just kind of winged it. You know, I have no notes, I have no script, I'm just kind of talking. Obviously, not really recording this in one go, but it still very much is unscripted to say the least. I just wanted to talk about my favorite style of fighting when it comes to Deku, because before this point I wasn't really a fan of Deku's fights, but after this point, whenever Deku fought, I was in the game, you know. Like, I really enjoy his fights with Shoot-Style, especially compared to, well, his other fights. Not necessarily saying Deku is my favorite fighter in the series or anything, I'm just saying compared to before, his fights are fucking incredible. I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. What do you think of Shoot-Style compared to how he was fighting before he learned Shoot-Style? Do you prefer it, like the whole kick style he has? And if you're reading the manga, like, do you prefer how he extended Shoot-Style with his Wind Force technique? Or do you think it should have stayed just with punches like All Might? Personally, I don't, because obviously it would feel more like an All Might 2.0 in my opinion, which I'm not really a huge fan of, I'm gonna be honest. Anyway, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everyone, Toga is waifu, Toga is lifu.